Marketplace of the Year. I'm your host, Christian, who's head of partnerships at ISPA UK. We're delighted today to be joined by our partners. We have John, Paul, and Lee, all from Altnets, who are a telecoms infrastructure specialists working in line with many of the members from across the ISPA Association. This will be followed by Felix Huang, who's the European Product Manager at TP-Link, and David Turner, who is the sort of Business Development Manager for the CTO team at Adtran. Before we start, just to get into today, I'd like to start by saying sort of 2023 has been a fantastic year for the sector. Recent figures, actually, I just saw today coming from Point Topic. We've hit 80% gigabit capable provision of fixed broadband services and hit topping just over 60% as of today. And we've seen a pretty significant increase in the take-up of these services with scope for building on the great work of the sector moving into 2024. This can't be delivered without the support of the secondary providers that help the ISPs and network builders deliver on those services. So today we'll provide some insights into a few of the players that are helping out with that market. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce John, Paul, and Lee from Altnets, who will be discussing their support in regards to the consultancy services they provide in regards to passive telecoms infrastructure, and a bit more insight into the UK supply chain. So, John, if you'd like to take it away.
Hello, I'm John Benger, Commercial Manager for Altnets, and I'm joined by Director and Co-Founder of Altnets, Paul Britnell, and our Technical Sales Manager and former British Cable Association Committee Member, Lee Buckwell. Altnets were founded in 2020 specifically to service the growing fibre to the home market, providing specialist procurement and supply chain consultancy services. In 2023, Altnets were delighted to become ISPA's first procurement partner. We help our client base with material specification and selection, and partner with global manufacturers to procure and distribute their passive and active equipment across the UK. Altnets clients include ISPs, alternative network operators, their build and delivery partners in both urban and rural areas. Our specialist team is dedicated to finding efficiencies in lead time and logistics, reductions in pricing, and consultative specification support within their supply chain. Today we will discuss some of the key factors in the UK fibre rollout and what the network operators and asset owners need to be aware of within their supply chain. So, Paul, with many UK operators switching their main focus to customer connections, what challenges do you envisage in this initial period?
I guess the first major challenge for alternative networks is entering a congested market, displacing existing providers, building and gaining brand recognition, customer trust, and acquiring subscriber take-up to deliver repeat revenue and return on existing investment. Then on to the build challenge of connecting customers and servicing them to the highest standard. The operator may need to invest in upskilling customer connection teams for deployment of both SDU and MDU, or a more de-skilled product set. As a network operator, focus shifts in the UK from spine build to total homes passed to now subscribing and connecting customers at pace. The first challenge is to have a small selection of products which will ensure they have quality installation no matter the challenges and obstacles ahead. A total understanding of the application and deployment methods and a defined bill of materials is essential. Compatibility, quality, and supply chain security are crucial to offering these services expected by new customers. Foresight into all of the above will ensure that operators are procuring and installing the correct product first time. Experienced engineers or de-skilled product selection.
So with that in mind, what would you say are the two main areas of focus for the design and procurement teams within the ISPs?
Customer connections have two fundamental areas: multiple dwelling units and single dwelling units, essentially flats, HMOs or houses. There are numerous factors to consider for both within the design and procurement phases, each carrying its own importance. Generally, the main difference when considering cabling solutions for MDU and SDU is the amount of internal cabling required for an MDU, and the navigation of layout of the building, and a way to ensure the optical power budget is not exceeded, all while achieving an aesthetically pleasing and compliant solution for the landlord and local authority. For SDU, understanding the specific build area in question and the method of connection is important. Is it an aerial connection from a pole? Is it an underground pulled, or is it a blown method of deployment? Finding product sets which will both aid rapid deployment for customer connection teams whilst ensuring reliability of service to the end user is very important. An example of this is deploying pre-connectorized solutions with less splicing, or a dual sheath drop cable solution for both internal and external environments. Something which is commonly overlooked in domestic environments is using compliance within a building. Cabling regulations such as CPR and entering a domestic or commercial premise by over 2 meters means you should use a CCA grade cable. For MDU, it's more complex and several key considerations come into play. How many variations of an MDU will the network provider be deploying? What are the size and shape of the MDU? Is there an available riser in the property? These are questions that are almost impossible to answer without detailed surveys, as MDUs differ from one to another, each presenting their own variations and challenges. The wise approach is to adopt a complete system capable of covering any MDU challenge with a small selection of components is essential for uniformity, versatility, and management of your materials. Selecting the correct fibre type for the MDU application is essential. Choosing a G652D or a G657A1 for deployment will lead to significant attenuation and exceeding your power budget before reaching the customer apartment. G657B3 should be considered the minimum fibre grade for MDU specification. However, for more complex cable routes, superior grades such as Easy Bend with 2.1mm bend radius provides complete confidence when addressing every challenge, including navigating internal and external 90-degree corners without exceeding your power budget.
Cool. Just to jump in on that, with MDU solutions, I assume there are multiple stakeholder considerations to navigate when selecting a manufacturer. Are there any specific pitfalls with MDU installations to be aware of for these stakeholders?
Solutions are available that can be installed in any building type globally, whilst adhering to the highest compliance standards. This should be a major factor and consideration for network operators rolling out UK MDU installs. Landlords will seek discrete solutions that can be easily deployed with minimal disruption to the building tenants, all while meeting critical standards. As a landlord, you want the installers to be in and out first time with total peace of mind that the install has been done correctly first time. They say buy cheap, buy twice is relevant, but here it comes with the added issue of potentially installing it twice too. MDUs offer a significant opportunity for ISPs to connect subscribers, but poor products or poor installs can jeopardize the reputation of an ISP and affect potential subscriber take-up. Compliance and reliability in supply chain selection is critical, as overall system design, uniformity of products, manufacturing standards, and reliable availability are paramount. All suppliers must offer a legal documentation around CPR compliance and the DOP. In both SDU and MDU scenarios, products from trusted global partners is key to customer connection success.
Thanks, Paul. Lee, Paul's briefly mentioned their CPR compliance and DOPs. Can you explain what CPR is and how it relates to cable compliance, how this affects cables ordered by procurement teams for internal applications like MDU, but also what is a DOP and why is it imperative for procurement teams to check what they are buying?
Of course, John. CPR stands for Construction Products Regulations. Since 2017, all copper and fibre data cables intended for installation for commercial or domestic premise must be tested for their reaction to fire. The cable is given a rating called a Euroclass from these results. The testing of the cable includes heat release, flame spread, fire propagation, smoke production, flaming droplets, and the acidity of the gases expelled. Any data cables installed with an internal installation like an MDU must meet certain criteria, Euroclass. A data cable which indicates CCA grade is not necessarily compliant with internal cabling, building cabling regulations. The criteria for smoke reduction, flaming droplets, and acidity must also be met for the cable to be compliant. The minimum Euroclass for an installation cable within a premise is CCA S1B D2A2. There are various standards in play which have defined this cable Euroclass, but importantly in 2018 it was adopted into the BS 7671, which is deemed a statutory requirement for all cabling within a premise. It can also be an expensive mistake for a procurement team, as local building code authorities or landlords have the power to request a removal of a cabling system replacement at your cost. So to the second question, what is a DOP? This stands for Declaration of Performance. Any cable which has been approved by a notified body will be given a DOP. This is a legal document which declares the performance of a cable. Any data cable placed in the market must have a valid DOP. It is an important added layer of safety for the public. The DOP must be produced in a certain format and contain all the critical information regarding not only the performance of the cable, but the manufacturer and the notified body who tested the cable. Since 2017, there's been several times I have seen DOPs for cables which are not valid and subsequently reported to the trading standards and removed from the marketplace. Procurement teams need to be vigilant and always ask for this document before purchasing internal cables. As mentioned, it could be a costly mistake.
Okay, so if the cable manufacturer tests the cable themselves for compliance to CCA S1B D2 A2, so I'm not an expert like you, Lee, I have to remember that one, would that automatically obtain a DOP? Is that correct?
I'm afraid not. Firstly, the manufacturer must be suitable to produce this type of cable and have an AVC +1 status. An approved notified body will perform its own independent testing of the cable. And if it achieves the required performance, a DOP will be issued. Just because a manufacturer has tested the cable itself and it believes it achieves the required performance, does not mean it has a valid declaration of performance.
So can I ask, from your time in manufacturing and with the CCA board, is it difficult for a manufacturer to achieve CCA S1B D2 A2 in cable design? And if so, why do you think we still see cables in the marketplace without the correct credentials?
It can be a hard process with a high associated cost in R&D for the manufacturer and a continuous cost in product control, auditing and retesting with the approved notified body. The cables I have seen try to enter the marketplace without the correct credentials are typically imported from Asia, where they do not have the same cable safety regulations as Europe or the UK. By adding these associated CPR compliance testing costs to their product, will potentially lose their competitive pricing advantage. And in my experience, some are very resistant to go through the full process. Ultimately, any cable to be claiming to be compliant without a valid DOP should be reported to the trading standards. We will have a duty of care to make CPR work and police our own industry. Altnets are best placed to aid with any internal cabling compliance questions, and I'm always happy to give guidance to any network provider's procurement team and advise on what products are compliant or not. Installing the wrong cable into an internal environment can ultimately mean a risk to life and should be taken very seriously. We don't want a Grenfell Tower disaster in our industry due to deployment of a non-compliant cable within an MDU riser.
So with the move to more customer connections and therefore increased number of active customers, are there any areas that become increasingly critical as a result?
Yeah, Altnets see the development in the market at the minute in the same way as we saw in data centers over the last 10 years. Securing and protecting valued assets is paramount. With more connected, active customers, network operators will see a rapid increase in the number of street cabinets and POPs in their network, for instance. Street cabinets and the equipment that they hold are a major critical asset, providing services to customers and returning a revenue to the business. A cabinet serving only 1,000 customers will equate to around £300,000 to £400,000 of annual income. These assets now have the ability to be more than just a telecoms cabinet. Now they can include additional security, remote access, monitoring provisions, as well as fault diagnostics and remote configuration. These additional functions are quickly becoming essential rather than the previously optional extras. Adoption of more advanced cabinet management systems can help operators not only reduce their total network operating costs, but also enable complete remote access, tracking, and cabinet control. There is also the potential for reduction of CapEx costs associated within the installation by having the active equipment pre-staged and tested in a controlled factory environment before delivering to site. Remote door access control systems can increase the physical infrastructure security and allow remote management of who has access and when they have the access. Traditional cabinet key sets should now be obsolete, really, because these can easily be lost, stolen, misused, or copied by a disgruntled employee or contractor, for instance. A remote soft key solution would centralize your network security in the NOC, rather than being left to local depots or the contractors to manage these physical keys. These solutions can help reduce wasted engineer journeys to the cabinet or even past the cabinet to go and get a key from another engineer and return on the same day. Remote access and management platforms could also allow for future expansion into the peripheral and third-party value-added services market. Telecoms cabinets offer a geographical advantage to local authorities, for instance, and blue light services for social and ecological survey equipment, such as pollution monitoring during peak hours on the roads. There is even the opportunity to investigate new revenue streams by using the cabinet's D&O fee to provide electric vehicle charging points. These value-added systems can even aid in future bids, land and planning acquisitions, and also help you to grow internal local authority partnerships. Altnets, in collaboration with our partners, offer a range of solutions enabling network operators to get the most out of their cabinets. Again, just to reiterate, these are cabinet management systems, intelligent cabinet door locking systems powered by NFCs off the engineer's mobile phone, and pre-staged cabinet builds from a dedicated FTX integration factory. Delivery, installation, and power up on the same day, giving it a ready for service cabinet on day one.
I'm obviously delighted to announce that Altnets are able to offer all our ISP members a free bill of materials review. So please do get in touch with us to arrange this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, guys. That was really informative. Because we've got a few minutes left, I was maybe going to throw a few pretty open questions to you and some quite high level questions. And if anyone else has them, feel free to stick it in the chat, and I can ask the gents at Altnets to answer for you. But I was going to open with this, and it's kind of a very high level one. But how do you see the infrastructure market developing in 2024? Obviously, we're seeing quite a lot of changes, quite a lot of market consolidation from the infrastructure side. And where do you see the opportunities if you were a network builder, per se?
There's obviously combined utilities. Sorry, I'm getting feedback. So yeah, it's combined utilities, obviously EV, and there's also a long way to go with getting customers connected. The majority of internet service providers that we've been working alongside are really putting the attention on getting customers connected now. Getting that repeat revenue in, which is really important for keeping investors interested in what's going on, but also allowing internet service providers to offer the service that they have been, saying that they'll provide to communities. I think we've got a long way to go with getting the full fibre broadband sector sorted before it goes into emerging markets, but there are lots of other things on hand as well, and lots of investment going into EV and other sectors too.
And we've got a question in the chat from Tim, and Tim asks, do you have any examples of ISPs already using their cabs for EV charging?
I think the only example at the minute is BT. Openreach have announced that they're going to start looking into the cabinets that they're discontinuing from the copper cabinets. So they're looking into it. It's an area that we're at the same time as they're looking to it. We're looking at the options there and talking to a number of ISPs about the provision that they have. I don't think anyone at the minute is actually rolling it out, but it's certainly something in the future that we could allow the ISPs to become a multi-utility provider rather than just an ISP.
Yeah, and introduce new revenue streams.
Yep.
Tim's followed that up by saying thanks, might be worth a chat. So I'm sure we can pass on your details at the end of this meeting. And I was just going to follow up on that and say, is that where you see the opportunity in terms of if you've built a network, the sort of from an investor perspective and a revenue perspective, somewhere where these network builders can grow?
I think potentially. I guess one of the things is a lot of the ISPs will be very much focused on themselves, and as the acquisitions and consolidations happen, there's opportunities to diversify, but they're going to want to understand some of the intricacies of how those consolidations happen. So when you're talking about like active equipment, obviously we've got the guys from Adtran later on. There's going to be a huge amount of integration at that level. So the focus might not be necessarily on those disparate and additional systems at the minute, but it's certainly with players like Octopus in the market where they are looking at being a multi-utility vendor, that as those consolidations happen, they're going to have to look into different streams. And if they are looking for investment, it is something that is going to be in their toolkit in the future.
Yeah, no, that's interesting to say. I think Octopus are sort of, I think they have acquired Shell Broadband now. That might have happened now. So that's a sign they're moving into this space a little bit more. So interesting to see how it will turn out as we move into 2024 and beyond. But yeah, with that, it's time to move on to our next guest, who's Felix Huang. But before, thanks very much, Phil, John, and Paul, for your time. It was really interesting to hear, and I'm sure there is things to follow up on after this meeting. So I'll be sure to share your contacts afterwards. So thanks very much. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Felix Huang, who's TP-Link's European Product Manager. And today he's going to introduce Wi-Fi 7 and what TP-Link are looking to do with the UK ISP market. So Felix, if you want to share your screen, introduce yourself and take this away.
Yes, thanks. And I think you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, you may want to just put it on.
Yes.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Thanks. That's everyone. I'm Felix. I'm in charge of the product management in TP-Link West Europe. And today I'm going to give you an introduction regarding the Wi-Fi 7 newest Wi-Fi generation technology. And before that, I will give you a briefly introduction about our company. So TP-Link, we are founded in 1996, and we have been working on networking and communication area for more than 25 years. So we are mainly focused on the in-home devices, including the routers, the mesh, and so on. So we have set 44 global subsidiaries to cover our global business, and we are selling out 180 million products per year, and in total 1.7 billion products in total, which is a very huge number. And we have been ranking as the #1 for the Wi-Fi devices in the last 12 years. And about this topic, so if you mainly focus on the Wi-Fi 7, seems that more and more deployment of the fiber, actually the Wi-Fi inside of home is becoming more and more important, because you need to have a very good Wi-Fi to be working well with the internet speed increasing. So for today's content, I will introduce what is Wi-Fi 7 and what is Wi-Fi 7 market outlook now, and also our own Wi-Fi 7 products. About what is Wi-Fi 7, probably some of you have already learned a little bit about Wi-Fi 7. So here I give you a very short overview, which is that Wi-Fi 7 is the newest technology for the Wi-Fi standards. So it's a true tri-band compared with the Wi-Fi 6. They bring a new 6 gigahertz band into the new technology, and also 320 megahertz is being supported in 6 gigahertz from Wi-Fi 7. And unlike the Wi-Fi 6, because more and more devices is being used inside of home, so Wi-Fi 6, the capacity of the Wi-Fi 6 is not really enough anymore. So that's the reason Wi-Fi 7 is becoming important and also being used now. So Wi-Fi 7 can upgrade the speed of every devices in the network. And there's some key features for Wi-Fi 7, including the 320 megahertz ultra-wide bandwidth, and also 4K COM, multi-RU, and also multi-link operations. It delivering a huge improvement of speeds, especially for the multi-RU and also the multi-link operation, which is short for which we can also use MLO as a short name. So it brings a lot of efficiency of the whole network. So with the Wi-Fi 7 technology, it can bring 4.8 times faster compared with the Wi-Fi 6 generation, and also 100 times lower latency. That's mainly due to the multi-RU and multi-link operation technology. And also it has 5 times more network capacity compared with the old generation. So here's a comparison switch between the Wi-Fi 7 and Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 6, and so on. As I mentioned, the most important one will be the multi-RU, which can increase the efficiency of the whole network, and also multi-link operation, which can increase not only the total speed but also the connect stability of the Wi-Fi. And here's ideal use case and applications for the Wi-Fi 7. For the business use case, it can run lag-free meetings, and also it telecommutes from home with Wi-Fi 7 with super fast cloud downloads. And also it can bring high efficiency of the whole network for the business. For the gaming and entertainment use case, with the Wi-Fi 7, you can enjoy massive online games and impressive AR, VR use case, 4K, 8K videos. And it can also offering a very good environment for a lot of devices inside of your home, because more and more smart home devices is becoming more important and more being frequently used in the home. Next part will be the Wi-Fi 7 market outlook. So about Wi-Fi 7, it's not, maybe some few think that Wi-Fi 7 is still far away from us, but actually it is not. It's already around the corner. So in this year, 2 of service provider in Nordics has already launched the Wi-Fi 7 products commercially using TP-Link solutions. And also from the end of next year, 2024, more and more tier 1 providers in the EU region will commercially launch the Wi-Fi 7 CPE and mesh devices. And Wi-Fi Alliance will also start to have the Wi-Fi 7 certification officially from Q1 of next year. And about the Wi-Fi 7 clients, it also will be very quickly launched into the markets. All of the smartphones who is using Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 actually is being equipped with Wi-Fi 7 ability from the hardware. And some of the smartphones has already launched the firmware which already support the Wi-Fi 7 connectivity, including the OnePlus 11, the Xiaomi 13 Pro, and also Google Pixel 8. And there will be also PC adapters equipped with the Wi-Fi 7 technology from Intel, MediaTek, Realtek, and so on. So in general, we could expect that from the end of 2024 or beginning of 2025, there will be a lot of new products supporting the Wi-Fi 7, no matter the routers or the clients. For the TP-Link Wi-Fi 7 products, we are the first one who has commercially launched the Wi-Fi 7 products, both in retail markets and also service provider markets. So we have the mesh devices with the Wi-Fi 7 products, which equipped with 10 gigabits connections and also definitely 2.5 connections. And we have the 5G CPE also with Wi-Fi 7 technologies. And all of our Wi-Fi 7 new products is compatible with EasyMesh, which is the newest mesh technology for the service provider. And we have our own technology based on the TP-Link Home Shot, which we are cooperation with third parties like F-Secure or Norton to enable the antivirus functions in our routers, which means all of devices connected to the routers can be protected. And we also have our own AI-driven mesh technologies, which can improve the roaming performance compared with the standard mesh technologies. And we are also having the Bluetooth-based location service for the enterprise products, which we include the Bluetooth technology in our enterprise mesh AP, and it can also to the location service. And we are the first vendors who has released a complete range of home and also enterprise Wi-Fi 7 products. So here I give you a brief review regarding for example, we have the Wi-Fi 7 Deco mesh technology products, which we are selling now into the markets. And this is also the products we are selling to the service provider. And for the Wi-Fi 7 routers, we have most of the chipset solutions, including MediaTek, including the Broadcom, and also the Qualcomm. And we also have Wi-Fi 7 gaming routers. So for the Wi-Fi 7 gaming routers, not only the Wi-Fi 7 itself, but we are having the WTF fast technology included, and also the gaming VPN, which can improve the performance of the gaming experience. And we also have a whole series of Wi-Fi 7 enterprise solutions named Armada. And also, especially for today's meeting, we have the Altnets Wi-Fi 7 for service provider, including the routers, the whole home mesh, the XGS-PON Wi-Fi 7 router, also the GPON, and also the 5G Wi-Fi 7 routers. That's the whole presentation I have prepared for today's meeting. Thanks to you all.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Felix. Interesting to see. I've been hearing murmurs from Callum for quite a while about Wi-Fi 7 coming to the UK. So it's interesting to see it starting to come into the market. And I know Callum's on the call today, so he might want to step in with a couple of these answers alongside you. But I think I was going to open that up and offer anyone in the chat the opportunity to put any questions in. But an initial question for me would be, how does Wi-Fi 7 offer differentiation for UK ISPs, either currently or now as we move forward?
So about the Wi-Fi 7, so first we need to see the trend of the markets, because unlike the Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 7 is really like a new generation about the technology, because Wi-Fi 6E only brings the 6 gigahertz, so not real like new upgradation compared with the Wi-Fi 6. But Wi-Fi 7, thanks to the multi-link operation and multi-RU, it can really bring the benefit to end users. And also we could see that from the 6 gigahertz, there's 1 dB more transmit power compared with the other countries in European markets. So it means that for the 6 gigahertz, actually in UK markets, it can bring additional benefits to end users. And also maybe some of the service providers considering about the high price for the Wi-Fi 7, but we could see that the price gap between Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7 is becoming smaller and smaller.
Yeah, as you'd expect, as Wi-Fi 7 gets more widely rolled out. Callum, I don't know whether you want to add anything into that.
Just to add on that point from Felix, what we've tried to show here is actually a glimpse of the future. This is really going to be mass market by about 2026, 27, by the time it actually becomes truly mass market. One of the things I always like to say to people is, if you can imagine back in 2010, what it was like and what kind of technology we're using. We are still using talk and text for our phones. And we're now in 2023 and the world is completely different. And by 2030, because we're building on Wi-Fi 7 and building out the fiber networks that we saw from Altnets previously, what's going to happen is that by 2030, it will be unrecognizable in terms of what we can do with Wi-Fi 7 as being part of the ecosystem. And in terms of the other technologies such as AI and so on, that we've actually mentioned, that once all these things combine together, again, it will just be unrecognizable from where we are now. And Wi-Fi 7 is one of the building blocks to that future that we actually see.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I think we're looking at things like the quantum computing market and how that's going to change everything. The sort of data requirements from people, just the general day-to-day consumer. I watched a video with Tom Scott, who's is quite a well-known sort of interesting character online, and he was talking about how short-form video is going to take over the world in terms of that's how people will communicate. And so the data requirements is going to go through the roof. And that I think maybe bring it back to today and you launching Wi-Fi 7 and speaking to the ISPs. Maybe one more question from me would be kind of, where do you see the initial adoption opportunity for ISPs among consumers? Where would the initial people that would be interested in Wi-Fi 7, where would they be found if ISPs were looking to roll that out to consumers?
It's actually going to, obviously, it will be with very early adopters. We're actually literally at the foothills of this Mount Everest that we're climbing. So it will be very early adopters. It's a very premium offering. It's based on speed. It's based on the clients that are available at the moment. within the phones and the other devices that people have and the laptops and so on. Once that picks up momentum, and it will pick up momentum in 2024, once that happens, you will have this whole group of early adopters who will actually want that speed premium. And it's not just speed, it's not just a speed story, it's actually a capacity story. So what can it enable you to do more than you can do? Because one of the statistics I read is that there are significant groups of significant segments of the market that now have up to 40 devices, 40 connected devices within their home environments. And it's primarily targeted at that particular group of people who are very tech savvy and who actually want to move with the latest technology, who will actually start to exploit the benefits of this increase in speed and increase in capacity that you have with Wi-Fi 7. So that's who we see it primarily going to. We already have the devices being tested by a number of our customers at the moment, a number of our partners who are actually saying, well, okay, we want to start and we want to actually have a premium product in the market, set themselves aside, differentiate themselves, and actually have that proposition where they can actually target higher value tariffs for that premium segment.
It'll be interesting to see who takes it up and where they take it up. But yeah, no, thanks very much for your time. I don't know, Callum, Felix, whether you want to add anything just before we wrap up your segment today.
Well, from our perspective, TP-Link is the first mover in terms of actually trying to bring this technology to market. It is medium to long term effort that we're actually doing, and it shows actually the commitment to actually presenting of the technology and making it available right from the start, and actually being the leader in this in this particular field to actually make sure that we actually do get to that stage of 2030, that time in 2030, when we can look back and say, wow, the change has been amazing.
Yeah, big transformation in 10 years for the UK internet sector, so that'll be good to see. But without further ado, thank you very much both for joining. That was really interesting insights. If you're ever offering freebies to Wi-Fi 7, I'm sure I'll take you up on that offer as a joke. But thanks very much. And to wrap up today and to introduce the final person that's speaking, we've got David Turner, who's Business Development Manager in the CTO team at Adtran. And he's hoping to discuss a little bit about ComboPon today. ComboPon was, I don't know whether anyone's seen, was covered recently on the webinar between Adtran CTO Ronan Kelly and the CEO of Zen Internet, Richard Tang. So I think David's wanting to provide a bit more insight for some of our members today and build on what was spoke about in that conversation. Adtran are already working with several sort of large wholesale infrastructure providers to deploy this. So it'd be interesting to hear a little bit more from yourself, David, today.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. Hi, everybody. So hope I'm sharing that screen and presentation. Everybody see that? Yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, right. So yeah, my name's David Turner at Adtran, and today I'd like to introduce our new compact OLT. As Christian just said, as many of you know, we provide FTTH solutions to Openreach and the majority of UK Altnets, and they're delivering both GPON and XGS-PON full fiber services, and what is arguably the most active fiber market in the world at the moment. As Christian said earlier, the UK has reached a milestone of 60% coverage of full fiber, and that's testament to the effort and investment of the UK service providers to modernise the UK's broadband infrastructure network. But some might say the easy stuff is done, and the final third, including rural areas and corner cases, is where innovative low-cost solutions are required to support the business case for full fibre. So one of the major challenges operators face in rural environments is the access to skilled engineering resources that are needed to deploy compact OLT solutions. And that's why Adtran's focus with the SDX family is around simplicity, flexibility, and efficiency. Over the last 8 years, we've worked tirelessly to create a portfolio of OLTs that optimize cost and efficiency to a wide range of solutions, don't consume more resources than are necessary, such as space, power, and cooling, and also reduce the level of expertise needed to deploy the solution. And whilst we've had solutions that meet the needs of the medium and large scale deployments, we were missing a compact unit that addressed the lower density deployment scenarios with the simplicity, flexibility, and efficiency points that I made earlier. So what were we missing? Well, in September at Connected Britain, we introduced the latest addition to our portfolio. It's the latest disaggregated OLT, the SDX 6324. And it's a compact 4-port rack mountable addition to our SDX portfolio. And the SDX family of OLTs, just to give you some background, they were developed from the very beginning to efficiently, cost effectively meet deployment scenarios ranging from the smallest to the very largest. And whilst we've always had a low port density sealed SDX OLT in the SDX 6312, which is an outdoor product, many operators were seeking traditional cabinet-based solutions for their deployments and for lower density configurations. And that's where the new SDX 6324 comes in. So leveraging the tried and trusted electronics of the IP68 sealed OLT and a proven software stack, the new SDX OLT is a perfect complement to the 16-port 6320 that you can see there and the 48-port 6330. And it's one hardware family of variants. They leverage common software, common management data models. So the introduction of different variants is greatly simplified. Here are the product specifications around that new OLT. So the 6324, it leverages the same underlying hardware and software as the rest of the SDX OLTs. The user interfaces, feature sets, and the other things you are already familiar with are available on day one from this product. All the ports and interfaces are on the front of the box. Once the unit's plugged in, it's immediately discovered by Mosaic Cloud Platform, which is our management platform, and that pushes the configuration down to the unit. And then starting on the left, we have dual 48-volt DC inputs. And for anybody that needs to deploy with AC, we also have an AC to DC converter for that as well. We have an alarm interface, a USB for backing up configs, loading firmware. We have some RJ45-based console and management Ethernet interfaces. In the middle, you've got 4 ComboPon ports that support GPON only, XGS-PON only, or ComboPon optics, which Christian mentioned is something quite unique for us. And they simultaneously deliver GPON and XGS-PON through the same single port on the same ODM. And these PON ports support a split ratio, so number of times or number of customers you can connect to each port up to 128 to 1. And that's perfect for servicing 500 residential units, for example, in an MDU environment. And then like all the other Adtran OLTs, you can do lower split ratios to increase the optical reach. And then you've got 4 10 gig uplink interfaces. And then the final component on the right-hand side is the field replaceable fan tray, which is the only moving part in the unit. So the 6324 is the most compact ComboPon OLT on the market today. It weighs 4 kilograms, which makes it easy for installation by a single person. And it only consumes 95 watts of power. So that's remarkable for a device that can deliver multiple gigabit services to more than 500 households with less power than a light bulb. And in terms of use cases, well, there's a long list of low density use cases that we've come up with and we could talk all day about, but I've narrowed it down to 3 of the most common ones that we've been asked for by our customers. The first one is low density, rural area coverage, sparse number of subscribers over a wide or a large area. Low density OLTs can flexibly be deployed to reduce the investment of serving that area. So you can see here customers that may be also GPON and a combination of GPON and XGS-PON customers there. And then the second is remote area coverage. So this is where you've got pockets of communities and customers in rural areas which are still quite far away from the central office or a cabinet in the city. And here, by cascading and connecting the high density OLT to a low density OLT, that can provide cost-effective broadband access for those rural environments and communities. And then the third scenario that we have is multi-dwelling units that we talked about earlier. So multi-dwelling applications, and this is focused at operators who either have MDUs within their footprint or who are specifically focused on MDU deployments where they need a very discrete solution. Typically, they're deployed in data rooms, comms rooms in the MDU environment, and you've got space limitations, so minimal space, minimal power, and minimal noise as well. And typically they're trying to address a few hundred or so residential units. So if you took a traditional OLT approach to this, that often results in something much larger than you actually need, and it would spend most of its life underutilized. So having this compact OLT, the 6324, that enables you to serve up to 500 residents in that MDU in a short fiber loop environment. So it's a perfect match for that need. And then, so the SDX family, it represents the latest in the disaggregated compact modular OLTs that we have. And as we've highlighted in the past, a big challenge with the large modular chassis approach is that they don't have the ability to efficiently scale down to meet the requirements of the use cases that we just discussed. So often equipment is deployed, consumes more resources than necessary, like space, power, and cooling, and they end up being partially occupied, which is exactly what the SDX family of OLTs aims to solve. And the SDX OLTs, they can be mixed and match. They all use common software management platforms, as I said. You can start off with a higher density one, add a lower density one as needed, or vice versa. We estimate the savings in the range of 30 to 50% just on CapEx by implementing the 6324. But then you've also got the OpEx savings, so the ease of deployment, reduction in inventory, lower energy consumption. They all add up to, they'll all add up over the 20 plus years that this equipment is deployed. So hopefully, as you've seen, we've introduced the most compact ComboPon OLT available in the industry, and we haven't compromised on carrier grade quality, feature sets, and management capabilities. And with simplicity, flexibility, efficiency as our key design cues for the SDX family, the solution set will help operators small and large to help hit their build-out targets without having to pay ransom rates for skilled resources. So please reach out to us if you'd like to learn more about the SDX. And with that, I'll hand back to Christian for any questions.
Thanks, David. That was really insightful. Interesting to see kind of the different options available. And you mentioned there were several applications today. Do you think you could highlight maybe a couple more that might be interesting for the audience that have joined us?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned three, but yeah, as you saw on that previous slide, we have a lot more. I think, so for example, wireless ISPs who are looking to move from fixed wireless access into the fiber market. Typically they may have a lower density requirement and need access to more cost-effective fiber equipment than a kind of a pure fiber operator. Utilities, so for example, utilities who are migrating to smart grid environments, and then something else we've been talking to in the industry, talking to customers about is rail and road signaling. So running fiber along rail road infrastructure. So for things like IoT and mission critical applications. So yeah, 2 or 3 more kind of applications that I can think of.
Yeah, and what's the commercial implications for those building in terms of how does this change their kind of cost, revenues, etc.?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I mean the access, the cost to deploy and the capex of this is, much lower than a classic kind of larger OLT. So the entry point to the market now for full fiber is much lower than it was before, in terms of the capex and the OpEx savings. The cost to run this equipment is very low as well. So it's pretty cost effective from a capex and OpEx point of view. So hopefully it enables them to get to revenue quicker.
Yeah, I was about to say probably makes sounds like music to certain builders' ears with the sort of increasing cost of capital at the moment we're seeing in the market.
For sure.
And something that people might want to consider. Just one more question for me in terms of the customer prem equipment such as ONT. What options are there, and do you have third-party device support?
Yeah, so lots of options, of course. So in GPON ONTs and XGS-PON ONTs, Adtran have our own portfolio of OLTs, and they range from very cost-effective kind of single port devices through to multi-port devices with 2.5 gig, 10 gig interfaces, and voice interfaces as well. So if you're looking to deploy voice services, you may want to have a traditional kind of FXS kind of voice interface on that as well. Indoor and outdoor. So some are, majority are typically deployed indoors, but you may see some that are deployed outdoors as well. And then on the third party side of things, so yeah, of course, we have an open approach to networking. We support a number of different third party ONTs as well. So you can kind of mix and match if you needed to in an estate for somebody that's has an existing estate of ONTs or maybe wants to diversify their the access to their equipment as well.
Yeah, you made an interesting point around the voice services there, because I was speaking to someone the other week from the sector who were quite shocked actually by the kind of the demand for voice services on their internet line. I think they were saying 35% of their customers have taken up voice services, which was quite surprising considering most people consider voice as a diminishing requirement for most consumers. So the opportunity is still there, I suppose, with that.
It is, yeah. I think voice is still, a good revenue generator for the ISPs. So, if there's some sort of bundle that has a voice service in, you can typically demand a bit of a premium for that, of course. And people still like to have a phone in the house, right? So
yeah,
there's still demand there for voice
handsets in the house. Yeah. I'm just going to ask you to stop sharing screen before we wrap up. And I was just going to ask one very high level overview. I think I asked a similar question earlier on, but sort of from Adtran's perspective, and you're seeing the change in the infrastructure market, you're seeing acquisitions, consolidations, what do you see the major change to happen as we move into 2024, 2025? Where do you see the opportunity for sort of the wholesale builders and potentially people like yourselves, Adtran, working with the sector? Where do you see those coming in?
Yeah, I think obviously people are moving from build now, as we mentioned, 60% in the UK, so that's great news. We've got these difficult areas to cover now, which is why we think this solution will work really well for our customers. Obviously, customer acquisition and connecting customers, moving customers from copper through to fiber is a big focus for the industry. Obviously consolidation and M&A activity next year will be really interesting. As we see these networks come together, there are going to be challenges in some of the technical aspects, I think. And,
merging the technology together.
Merging technology together, merging kind of OSS and BSS, etc. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of focus around that, so I think.
Lots of opportunity there.
And so as TP-Link pointed out, I think Adtran, we also have kind of Wi-Fi solutions. So the in-home Wi-Fi experience is really key. As we start to deploy these full fiber solutions, matching the the in-home Wi-Fi experience to the, the fiber speeds that are delivered to the door is going to be really important.
Yeah, and the political landscape likes to apply pressure to the industry to make sure we deliver. So I'm sure these things will enable us to sort of relieve that pressure somewhat, I think, moving forward. But thanks very much for your time, David. That was really interesting.
Thank you.
And I'm sure if anyone wants to reach out to David and get in touch, you're more than welcome to. I can share his email after this event. But without further ado, that wraps up kind of our final ISPA Marketplace of the year. So very much big thank yous to David, Felix, Callum, John, Paul, and Lee for taking part today. Some really insightful stuff. Before we wrap up, I'd just like to say don't forget to join us for our events next year. We'll be doing more webinars, more marketplaces like this. We'll have the 4 annual events. So many more things happening from an ISPA perspective. Our next big event is Parliament and Internet on the 20th of March between 1:30 and 5:30 in the Houses of Commons. So members are welcome to join, partners are welcome to join that. If anyone wanting to position themselves as kind of a thought leader as we engage with the policymakers and we go into an election year, feel free to reach out because we can discuss partnership opportunities, sponsorship opportunities around that. And sort of just end it to say, I hope everyone enjoys the Christmas and comes back raring to go in 2024. So thanks for all your time. Look forward to seeing you.